Good morning and welcome to the Oasis Center for Spiritual Living, where we come together as one, providing spiritual tools for daily living. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Reverend Tucker. I am the senior minister here at the Oasis, and I always like to introduce this wonderful team that God has provided me. Let's start out with my faithful assistant, Faith, here. Whoops. This is why Faith does a lot of the things behind the scenes, because it takes me a bit to do. I can't talk and do other things like I am. I can multitask. Oh, you're talking about Missy? She says, good thing she doesn't know time. Ha ha ha. I'm like, oh, Missy, yes, her dog.
Oh, yes.
Anyway, Faith, I can't multitask when I'm talking. I can do it at other times, but I can't do it when I'm speaking because I just lose my place. And so Faith is behind the scenes, the woman that does it all. And I just speak. That's all my only job on Sunday. So I'm really grateful for that. Faith has actually been my assistant since the day she was born. She was helping her dad at the sound booth when she was just a little baby. And then she learned how to crawl and crawled right on up to the stage like she knew she was supposed to be there. So we started putting her on the podium when I would do announcements. And I kind of think that people paid more attention when we did that. But anyway, she grew up like 6 blocks from my house. And so she used to come over to my house a lot. Her dad would go on tows out of town. He was a tow truck driver, and he would drop the girls at my house. So she grew up basically in my house. I mean, and then when she was about 14 and a half, she said, I want a real job. And so I hired her for my other business, and then here at the church when the pandemic started and we started doing these live services. So she's been my assistant a very long time. Now it's been, I think, 6 years almost that she's been my assistant. So in 3 years, here at church. So she does everything literally for me. Between the two of us, I think we have one brain sometimes. And then she's also our singer. So today she's going to be singing The Power of Women by Karen Drucker, which is an awesome song. And we are going to be celebrating the power of women today. So that's a perfect song to do. So thank you for being here, Faith. I really appreciate you. And then there is my partner in crime, the wise and powerful Oz. He was my first baby practitioner, meaning he took all of his classwork with me. And then he became my board president for many years and moved away to Florida. And we lost the ability to have him be practitioner of the day and hold consciousness on the pulpit and all that good stuff. And then we started doing these live Sunday services on, this live streaming, which allowed us to grab him and have him part of our service again. He's now in Wisconsin for the summer, like who wouldn't leave Florida in the summertime? So it's really wonderful. He's our practitioner of the day today, meaning that he's doing the invocation and the benediction, and he's available at the end for our 1-minute miracle, which I will talk about a little bit later. But it's so nice to have Oz with us. So thank you for being here. We love you. All right. And then I have this adjunct music team I always like to acknowledge. They don't appear on camera, but, well, Tina does. Albertina Giuffre, who's from Holland, and we just call her Tina. She appears on all the holidays. She used to be the singer in our church from like 2000 on. And then her ex-husband died, and she's been in the process of trying to get the house ready for sale. And so she decided she needed a break, and we gave it to her, and Faith stepped up. And so now Faith does most of the singing, but we do ask Tina to come back on holidays. So next week, I know I told you last week that it was going to be Father's Day this week, but I was wrong. As soon as the service was over, Faith goes, Father's Day is not next weekend. I'm like, oh, shoot, I did it again. So, but next weekend is Father's Day, and Tina will be back with us. And then we have Reverend Fairy Elaine Silver, who has provided us music so that we can do our music on Sundays, and Karen Drucker, who has also done that. So we are really blessed to have these women as our adjunct music team. God has really provided me an excellent, excellent team to work with. So I always like to acknowledge them for sure. Also, say hi, good morning, hello, however you want to greet us. When we're in a facility, I can look out and see all of the beautiful faces shining back at me. When we're here, I obviously do not have that ability. So all I see is a number. And I don't even get names. So please say hello, good morning, however you want to greet us. And there's a watch party button if you'd like to invite your friends to view this. It's a great way for them to know what kind of services they will see on Sunday. And it's a good way for you to talk between the two of you, these private chats that you can do, because you can't disturb anybody, right? And it helps your friends ask the questions they need asked and need to ask, and you can provide the answers for them. So hit that watch party button and invite all your friends. And right now I'd like to invite you to close your eyes if that feels comfortable. Allow the service to uplift and inspire you as we move into our centering song.
Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can feel the rush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can feel the rush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place.
The presence of God, for God as we conceive of it, is all things, all times, all places, omnipotent, eternal, and present wherever we can be, wherever we are, and even where we cannot be, for God's presence is universal. In all things, as all things, in me, in you, in all of us here. I know that this everlasting presence uplifts and supports all of creation, creating it anew at every moment. I know that this process moves through our service and through our week. And I know that the blessings that unfold are resulting from our alignment with this one greater source. I accept this, and I accept the blessings that come with it through our service. And I know that it is good and very good, and I give thanks that it is so. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you, Oz. I know we do a lot of music at the beginning. I always like to think of it as opening our hearts so that our minds are open. So the message that God is speaking through me sinks in. This next song is one that Reverend Fairy Elaine Silver wrote when she was in her practitioner training. And it's a really great reminder of how connected we are to all of life. So sing it loud and sing it proud if you know the words, because you can't bother anybody, right?
We are all one. We are all one. We are all one in it. I hear it and know it, my being. Spirit is all I am. surrender to infinite light, knowing the love that's surrounding me is within me by day and night. And we are all one, we are all one, we are all one in it. Yes, we are all one, we are all one, we are all one in it.
We are all one in it. So say hi, hello, good morning, however you want to greet us if you're here. If you stop by later, just say hi. Just let me know that you stopped by, kind of a little note. A lot of people say like or love or whatever you want to do just to let me know that you stopped by. It's always good to know that we had an audience. All right. So again, say hi, hello, or good morning if you're here. If you like something that you hear, whether that's something I say or Faith sings or Oz prays, by all means, use the like button. And if you love something, please send us hearts. We love to get love. And if something strikes you as very powerful, use that wow button. It's a really good feedback for me to let me know when I'm on track, when I've really hit the mark, so to speak. So without further ado, I am going to have Faith sing now. The Power of Women by Karen Drucker.
Thank you. Power. This is the power of women. United we stand. We're making a difference when we join hands. It's the power of women who will heal this world. It's the power of women. The power of women. It's a goddess, it's a matriarch, it's a maiden, it's a crow. Every color, every ace, through the ages it's been shown that the women have compassion. Women show the way to a world that's filled with peace and love. Let me hear you say, it's the power of women. United we stand, and we're making a difference when we join hands. It's the power of women who will heal this world. The power of women. The power of women. Power. It's just the power of women. As we stand in this circle, feeling our connection, and we feel the power move as we stand in our intention. We peace to this world and right all the wrongs. Joining now in sisterhood, we lift our voice in song and sing. The power of women, united we stand. We're making a difference when we join hands. It's the power of women who will heal this world. It's the power of women. The power of women. Power. It's just the power of women. Power. It's just the power of women. Power. Power takes the world. It's what you gonna do. First we got to realize that it's up to me and you. Every single day I'm gonna take the time to pray. Express some loving kindness to each person along my way. What you gonna do, what you gonna do, what you gonna do with your power? What you gonna do, what you gonna do, what you gonna do with your power? Gonna do what you gonna do, what you gonna do with your power, what you gonna do. We are women of power.
Thank you. I love that song. That's one of the best songs she does, I think. Excuse me. Saluting our power.
I ended up using it in a project for the goddess movement, actually. So.
Oh, did you? Oh, that's
yes.
so cool.
Oh, yes.
I bet she'd love to hear that. You might like drop her a line and tell her.
I should.
Yeah.
I should message her.
I think she would really like that.
Oh my God, yeah.
Thank you, Faith.
Thank you.
Okay, so you're probably wondering why we're doing the Power of Women this week. I totally missed March. I don't know what happened. March 8th was International Women's Day, and March was the Women's History Month. And I totally missed it. I always like to talk about the power of women during that month, but for some reason, I don't know what happened to me. I think it was because of my sister, and I was just all in a weird place. So, but I want to talk about the power of women because it is so important. During Women's History Month, one time, my friend was saluting Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And I'll talk a little bit more about Ruth later because she was so amazing. But there's a lot of people a lot of women who have influenced our nation, influenced the world for that matter, you know. But we don't really usually recognize it. Like people will say, well, why do we have to celebrate the history of women? Or why do we have to celebrate Black History Month? Or why do we have to celebrate, you know, it's because all of the history every day is white men. And so we forget that there are women who have contributed to everything. And we forget that there are Black people, African Americans, who have contributed to everything. And so I think it's important to honor that, especially like in March when it's Women's History Month. I really think that it's important for us to acknowledge our contribution to the world. For instance, think about what's going on in the Ukraine right now. Now, really, there's a lot of men that are at war also, but the first pictures that you saw of the Ukraine war were grandmas with, you know, machine guns. And you have to stop and think about that for a minute, how somebody can move from a nurturing space right into mama bear, like 0 to 60 in a second. And that's so true about women. We are very versatile. We are able to step out of our normal realm or our normal role of being that nurturing, loving presence to protecting our young. You know, we just right away get into mama bear and we're going to protect not only our young, but our country. You know, women are powerful creatures. And I don't think we necessarily think about that sometimes. I mean, you might think, okay, so I'm just this person. I'm just a woman. You know, how I can't have that much power. I want you to stop and think about the butterfly just for a moment. Now, you might say, how does a butterfly change the world? Well, they're amazing. These itty bitty little creatures. They start out as a baby, like a worm, a caterpillar, and they weave this cocoon around themselves. And when they're mature and they're ready, they come out and they're immediately able to fly. And then when they fly, they affect the changes in the wind, in the weather patterns. This little itty bitty butterfly has the power to influence weather patterns. I want us to get really clear about that because as women, we have a lot more power than we think we do because we're so used to giving away our power. We're so used to in a relationship, you know, whether that's our kids or our husband or our boyfriend or our boss at work or our coworkers, we are really used to giving away our power. And it's an interesting concept to be able to claim our power back, right? So, for instance, you know, when we stand in the water and call those pieces, but because, you know, we've given away a piece of ourself in all of these relationships. When we leave those relationships, there's a part of us, a piece of us that's left behind. So there was this program one time. I'm trying to remember her name now. Anyway, Alan Roth was her partner. Anyway, she was talking about calling your spirit back, going in the ocean and standing there and calling your spirit back. And I started thinking, when I was doing visioning, I was starting to think, how do I call my spirit back? Because of the pieces that I left behind at 2 churches. And so I was like, you know, I was thinking, go swim with the dolphins in the ocean, or, you know, something exotic like that. No, it was open a church. You've heard that story before. I'm not going to go into it again. But what's interesting about that is how I claim my power back. Because opening this church has allowed me to step back into my power in a way that I couldn't have done had I said no to the vision. I did say no for quite a while, as you all know, but lately, like in 1999, I said yes and opened this church. So, but it's important for us to remember that we need to step back into our power. And there's a lot of philosophies that really honor women. One of them is the Carmelite nuns, for example, who take a character from the Bible, a female character from the Bible, and they live as that character until they have completely embodied the spiritual traits that character portrayed. And there's a lot of people in the Bible, like, you know, Mary, for example, was a virgin. So she had this virgin birth. Mary was very powerful. She created an entire religion by giving birth. And creation is one of our special powers. You know, I think of us like, you know, all the superheroes or whatever. Women have the superhero power of giving birth, of creating life. And so Mary did that. Another one is Esther. Esther was amazing, actually. She affected an entire change in a government because she was willing to, you know, the Syrians took over, and, you know, they were going to, this one king was going to kill all of the males. And Esther, thinking that that was a horrible thing, put her life on the line. Oh, no, wait, it was women. They were going to destroy the women, I think, to keep us from giving birth. Anyway, so she put her life on the line and convinced the king not to do that. She was married to him. He was somebody in his entourage. I can't remember. His name was Haman. Convinced him that this needed to be done, but she convinced him not to. And so she changed an entire government. I mean, it's just important for us to recognize these places where women have not only affected their own lives and the lives of their families, but they have affected governments and world organizations, you know. And so the Carmelite nuns, that's their whole process, is to live their life as one of these characters until they embody all of the spiritual gifts that character has. Another one is the Native Americans. The Native Americans really value and honor the power of women. For instance, sweat lodges are a perfect example. When a woman is menstruating, they recognize how powerful she is. Well, they recognize how powerful women are anyway, but when we're menstruating, we are like 10 times the power. And so they've created this thing called a red tent. And it's not a way of like secluding women off from everybody because they're afraid of them or whatever, or that they don't value them. It's because they don't want them to interfere with the sweat lodge, because their power would overtake any power that the leader is working with, and all the people who are participating in the sweat lodge. So they created this red tent where all the women who are menstruating go into a sweat lodge together, and they're not around the men. And I think it's important for us to recognize just how powerful we really are as women. It's really funny. You know, my dad died when I was 2.5, and I was raised by Joey's dad. from the time I was like 3.5 on. And it was funny because he'd always had boys before. And so he didn't know how to raise a little girl. So I did softball. I went to football games with him. I was basically a tomboy. And it wasn't until I was maybe 13 or 14, maybe 12, where I started coming into a realization that I'm a little girl. Because up to that point, I didn't know any different, right? It wasn't a girl-boy thing. It was just, that was my way of life. And then I started noticing things like how my brothers lived versus how my mom and my aunt and, you know, my cousins who were older lived. You know, they had kids, except for Brooks. Brooks and I have a simpatico in that way. But they were domestic divas, right? And I looked at that and I thought, oof, yeah, that's not my life. I want a different life. I want the life my brothers have. And so I'm not a domestic diva. Anybody who's visited my house knows that. I didn't have kids. I purposely did not have kids. I wanted a different life. So I have always pursued male-dominated fields for my career. IT professional. It was really funny when I used to show up on site and they hadn't met me yet. They'd hire me and I'd show up and the looks on their faces were like, and you could tell what was going on in their head. I hope she can handle this. She doesn't look like a computer geek. I know what computer geeks look like. A lot of my friends were computer geeks back then. So I knew what they were expecting. And I walk in and it's like, there's this idea that women can't be intelligent and pretty at the same time. Or that, you know, and so if you're a pretty woman, they don't expect you to have a brain. And if you have a brain, they expect you to look like a computer geek, right? And so I'd show up and they were okay. And I would prove myself because I don't do anything half-assed. I never have. You know, I throw my whole self into whatever it is I'm doing. And when I throw myself in, I'm a perfectionist. I want to perfect whatever it is I'm doing. If I can't perfect it, I don't do it. Because I just can't handle, you know, being a failure. So when I started in IT, I did everything that I could to be better than my male counterparts. And so I would show up on site, they'd judge me right away, and then I would show them and they'd be like, wow, you did a great job. And it wouldn't have been surprising if a guy came in there and did a great job, but it was surprising because I was a woman. And so we are judged like that. We women are judged like that in the world. We have to be 10 times better than our male counterparts just to prove to them that we can do whatever. And they don't even realize how versatile we really are. I remember my dad, you know, used to tell me all the time, well, Joy's dad used to tell me all the time, you can do whatever you put your mind to. And I'm like, okay, I believed him. And so when I was in college in California, I decided to take an auto mechanics class, and my dad was so supportive. He was great. He was like, I'll buy you the tools. I'll pay for the class. You know, I think it's great that you're doing this. Oh, that's awesome. Yada, yada. Then I graduated and I came back to Colorado, and I said to him, oh boy, Dad, now I can change your oil. I can change your spark plugs. I can work on your brakes. And he is like, yeah, I'm going to take it to a real mechanic. Way to be supportive, Dad. He never did let me work on his car. Not ever. And these days I probably couldn't. Everything's so computerized. It was like in the 70s when I took that class. So there was a lot of manual things that I could do back then. Now I can't do so much because I think I can still change spark plugs, but I don't know if I remember how. That was quite a few years ago. Anyway, my point is that if my brothers had taken that auto mechanics class, he may or may not have let him work on it. I don't know. You know, he did have an idea of, you know, professional this and professional that. So he may not have even let my brothers do it. So it may not even have anything to do with me being a woman, but I took it that way because, you know, I was raised in the Orthodox Jewish faith, where I was told over and over again how unholy women were. And so as a teenager growing up as a girl, I was like thinking, yeah, that doesn't sound very cool. It sounds like God prefers men over women. And so I ran away from the synagogue for that very reason. But women can do anything we put our minds to. Absolutely anything that we put our minds to, we can do. We're so versatile. Not that men can't, it's just that we don't recognize that women can, right? I don't, men fill in for mothers when the mother's not present. So they can be nurturing and they can be all of the things that the mother is. And they can also turn into Papa Bear to protect their young. But I don't know that they're as versatile and multitask as well as we do. Like I said, I can't multitask and talk. For some reason, it knocks me off of my game. But I'm really good at multitasking usually. And we're problem solvers. We see a problem, we go in and we just do it. Men like to, sit and figure it out. And, not women, we just blast right ahead, just fix the problem. But take the women's movement as a perfect example in the 60s. We marched. I mean, it happened long before that. In the 1800s, women marched because they wanted voting rights. And whenever we unite, we women unite, whenever we join hands, we affect change, like major change, because we are a force to be reckoned with when we come together for a cause. We have been very instrumental in the civil rights movement for that very reason, because if we don't like something, watch out. We will join hands, we will march, we will, make our voices heard. That's why so many activists are women, because we just get in there and bam, we want to see change happen now. We don't want to wait for the powers that be to deliberate. And, we go in there and just, man, we're at it. And even now, the most powerful voting bloc is Black women. They are amazing because they will get things done. They join hands. They talk to other people. They influence. They're influencers. These days, influencers are somebody on TikTok or Facebook who have a product line that they're trying to sell. And they do TikTok videos or they do Facebook reels about this product and they do sell it. So they're influencing, but we are influencers naturally. I mean, that is just part of our being. And when we join hands, as Black women do, there's nothing that we can't accomplish. So we have various stages in our life where we have different superpowers. Let's just put it that way. Now, the Native Americans talk about different age groups and, what happens, but also in the Wiccan faith, they have the goddess traditions. They have the maiden, the mother, and the crone, right? The maiden has all these, beauty and vitality and, all of these as her superpowers. And then the mother has the power of creation, the power of giving birth, the power of, managing the household, power of all that. And then the crone is our superpower, because I'm a crone now. Our superpower is really our wisdom. It's interesting. I have this friend she's like 43, and she always asks me my opinion about stuff, and I give her advice, especially about dating men. And she's always so appreciative of that because she says, you've lived an entire lifetime. You really know what you're talking about. And she has all these 20-something-year-olds who are trying to give her advice, and it's the opposite of my advice. And so the thing about that is that we have lived life. We have learned lessons the hard way. We try to help other people. Like our power, our superpower is influencing younger women to not make the same mistakes that we did because of our wisdom. And I share my wisdom. Not everybody likes to listen. I have quite a few people in my life who I offer my opinion and they go, yeah, okay. And that's fine. I offer it and it's there. But nobody says I'm going to try and force them to adhere to my wisdom because my wisdom is my wisdom. But we give our power away so easily that it's very important for us to remember that we need to claim to step into our power. Like women who go on marches are stepping into their power and claiming it, right? They're saying, I have a voice and you're going to listen to me. And truthfully, we women should do that all the time. That is really important for us to step into our power and claim it. So I want to talk about Ruth Bader Ginsburg for a moment, because she really changed our country more than anybody, I think, has ever changed our country. It starts out, I've watched a couple of movies about her, and she's just an amazing person, or was an amazing person. She's since passed away, but in her early years, she married, or she was engaged, I think at the time, maybe she was married, to this guy who was in law school. And he invited her to this luncheon that the dean was throwing. And she got all up in that dean's face and decided that she wanted to go to law school because of something. I can't remember exactly what he said, but he said something about women and their ability to do law school. And so she went to town and she became a lawyer. And then she was the very first woman Supreme Court justice. And in her time, she fought for women exclusively up until she became the Supreme Court judge. And all of that time, she was really focused on lawsuits that had to do with women being, not getting their rights. They lost their rights in marriages, in divorces, in work situations. And so she focused all of her attention on that. So by the time she became a Supreme Court justice, all the cases that came before her for civil rights, she was one of the advocates of everybody's rights, not just women, but everybody's rights. But a lot of the cases that came before the Supreme Court had to do with women's rights. And she was always that stalwart influencer in that realm. And so we women nowadays have really a lot to thank Ruth Bader Ginsburg for, because our ability to, even though our wages are still not what a man makes, it has come up since she started working on our behalf. And we are not regarded in the workplace as a liability anymore. Used to be they wouldn't hire women because, well, what happens when you get pregnant? Because the assumption was every woman would get married and get pregnant and have a family and not be able to work. And yes, there are some inconveniences for women who are in the workplace that have kids. I get it. Kids are sick, they can't come to work. I mean, it just happens. I get it. But back in the old days, they would not hire women because of that. And nowadays, they can't discriminate against women, partially because of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Well, a large part because of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. They're not allowed to discriminate against women. And so now they hire us and they know that there's going to be some inconveniences. Okay, well, we'll live with that because we have to live with that, right? And if she hadn't done what she had done, we would still be back in those ages where we wouldn't get hired because we know there's going to be a problem. All kinds of rights, the voting rights, which I talked about in the 1800s, but that got expanded during the time that Ruth Bader Ginsburg was Supreme Court justice. That got expanded. Our rights got expanded. Abortion was a big one, which now is overturned. But the ability for us to manage our own bodies was her focus, not abortion necessarily, but our ability to have a conversation with our doctor about what is best for our health and for the baby's health and what is good for our body was a decision between us and our doctor because of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. It's no longer that, but we're getting there. I think we're going to get back to that. But so when I think about all of these women and what they've contributed to our lives, not just in our country, but in all countries. I mean, really, Angela Merkel, for example, being the Prime Minister of Germany, or the president. I think she was the president. I can never remember which ones are what. And then Margaret, what was her name? I can't remember. She was the prime minister of the UK. And of course, the Queen of England. Nobody could deny that the Queen of England had power. Nobody could ever deny that. So we women have influence all over the world. It's not just the United States, but I think it's good for us to remember that we don't want to give our power away to anyone. Most particularly give our power away to a man. We want to claim our power. We want to step into our power, and we want to do something significant with that power. So I ask you, what are you going to do with your power? What you going to do with your power? That's that important question that Karen Drucker asks in that song. What are you going to do with your power? So this week, I want you to focus on remembering the butterfly, remembering that even that small, insignificant creature can affect, world changes in weather conditions. If they can do that, just think what we can do as human doings, right? And then I want you to ask yourself, what am I going to do with that power? What is it that I can contribute to the world with my power? Doesn't have to be anything big. Raising kids is an amazing power. It's an amazing superpower. I personally didn't want to have kids, so it has to be expressed somehow. That nurturing has to be expressed, because during the motherhood season of my life, it was more about other people's kids and fur babies. But excuse me. So it has to be expressed. And so I'm not down on motherhood. Please understand that if you choose to have a family and raise that family and be a domestic goddess, I support you in that. That's how you're going to use your power. And for those of us that don't have kids and are not domestic divas, I celebrate all of us in using our power for the good of humanity. So this week, what are you going to do with your power? Let's have a prayer. So right now I turn my awareness to the infinite power, the infinite presence of God, to that place within me that knows beyond human understanding just how powerful God is. And recognizing that that power flows through all equally. So I know that that's where I find myself, in the midst of God, my very essence, my very life, my very being. It is who and what I am. And every thought, every action, every deed is guided and led by that ancient wisdom of the ages that is God flowing through me. I know that same truth to be so for this wonderful team that God has provided me to be able to get the message out. For Lynn and for Faith and for Oz and for Tina and Karen and Elaine. Because I do know that we are connected by God, through God, as God. And it is the same wisdom of the ages that flows through all of us that we utilize. That guides us and leads us. I know the same truth to be so for everyone who is watching, whether that's in real time or later on, because I do know that there is no place where one leaves off and the other begins. We are all connected. Mataki Oyasin. All my brethren, we are related. And as we celebrate that connection this week, as we celebrate the idea that we are powerful, not only powerful human beings or human doings, but we are powerful as women, that we are full of power, powerful, that we have the power to influence the world much like the butterfly, and that we really get a sense of what we're going to use our power for the good of humanity, for the good of the world. This coming week is just blessed with that knowingness. And so I bless every name that is in the ministry or prayer this week, for I know that almost all issues come down to nothing, and that God is the power that flows through us, so how could we not be powerful? So I pull back the veil and reveal that truth, and I claim it for each person in their name as good and very good. I bless it. I give thanks for it. My heart just fills with gratitude as I just let this be. And so it is.
You are the hearts, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth, and who you are and all you do is blessing to the world. You are the hearts, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth, and who you are and all you do is a blessing to the world. We are the hearts, we are the hands, we are the voice of spirit on earth, and who we are and all we do is a blessing to the world. We are the trying to add her back in. She was like, nope, not ready.
Sorry about that. Sometimes we have like dueling fingers here, dueling clicks. So this is our opportunity to receive your gifts, tithes, and offerings, and your opportunity to express gratitude for that which you have received already in the physical realm. Excuse me. And for that which you have already created in the mind of God, but may not have experienced yet on the physical plane. So I'm going to invite you in just a moment to go to www.oasiscsl.com. And about 2/3 down the page is our offering affirmation, but I'll invite you in just a minute. First, I'd like to talk about, because right underneath that is our Contribute Now button. And I really want to talk about contribution for a minute, because if we were in a facility, you'd be contributing to rent and utilities and all the usual expenses that come along with being in a facility. That's not what you're contributing to. You are contributing to our vision, which is a healed world, and our mission, which is healing the world one person at a time. Unfortunately, it takes money. Oh, excuse me. Unfortunately, it takes money to be able to market to the whole world. And so what you're contributing to is our ability to market to the whole world so that we can fulfill our mission and our vision. So right now, I'd like to invite you, whether you're watching in real time or later on, to now go to www.oasiscsl.org. Isn't it org? It's not com, is it? I think it's org, dear. Yeah, it is.
It is org. I messed it up. I'll edit that one.
Okay. So those of you who tried to go to .com, please come back. It is www.oasiscsl.org. And about 2/3 down the page, like I said, is our offering affirmation. So please say that with me right now. This perfect gift is spirit informed, circulating and blessing all it touches. Freely I give and joyously I receive. And so it is. Hit that Contribute Now button and please help us market to the world so that the message that God is flowing through me right now is available to the world. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. We really appreciate all of that. All right. So we have this wonderful team of licensed practitioners that from coast to coast that serve our organization as the healing arm of the church. We call them the God Squad. And they serve in a lot of different ways. One of the ways they serve is every week we ask people if they would like prayer. So they pray on those requests every day for a week. And so right now, if you would like prayer for something, in the comments section, please put your request. If you don't want it to be public, you can DM Faith and she'll make sure that the God Squad gets that request. But they will pray on it every day for a week. So take advantage of this loving service they provide. Practitioners are also available by appointment for a fee for spiritual guidance. And so what you do is go to our website, which we're updating. I promise you we're updating. Go to our website, check out our practitioners that are listed on the site. You can find them on Facebook, message them on Facebook and say, I would like to have an appointment for spiritual guidance, and they will contact you and let you know how to pay for it. I don't get involved in that. Every practitioner has their own business. So some of them use Venmo, some of them use Cash App, some of them use Wise, some of them use PayPal. I don't get involved in any of that, so I can't even tell you who uses what. But you can pay for it and then set an appointment, and they will video chat you at the time of your appointment. Take advantage of this because practitioners are really good. Licensed practitioners are really good. They have been trained to see the spiritual truth beyond the condition that you're experiencing. And they will help guide you to that knowledge yourself so that one of these days you'll be able to see that truth for yourself instead of having them mirror it back to you. All right. So also, Oz is available for what we call our 1-minute miracle after the service. And because he's practitioner of the day. And so, excuse me, you just video chat him and you let him know what condition you're experiencing, what you're struggling with, and he will stop, drop, and pray with you right then and there. If he doesn't answer right away, it probably means he's on with someone else. So wait a little while and then try back again. So that's the ways that our licensed practitioners function. That's the service that they offer in our church. Also, if you would like to be part of our online community, we have this public facing group page that serves as a way for you to communicate with other members and get to know everybody in the spiritual community. But it's also a place where we put notifications before we actually make them public so that you get the first information before everybody else does. All right. So again, just type more in the comment section and Faith will make sure you get on that group. All right. So Brooks and Bailey is a company that all the proceeds go to Rocky Mountain Lab Rescue, but they have mala beads, they have necklaces, they have bracelets, they have other bracelets besides mala beads, but I like to focus on the mala beads personally because they, in the Buddhist and Hindi traditions, they move one bead at a time as they do their chants. And I think that's a great way to do affirmations because I always say do 100 affirmations a day. So this is one way you can count off. There's 108 beads in the necklace and 54 in the bracelet. So you could do it twice on the bracelet a day. Anyway, this one is amethyst, so it's $60, but they have everything from $30 on up, depending on what gemstone you want. And the way you reach them is either on their Facebook page or Brooks and Bailey 0307@gmail.com. Again, the proceeds go to Rocky Mountain Lab Rescue, which is a great thing. I try to repost any announcements that they make that they're going to have a booth at one of these events because it's a great way for you to see their inventory and talk to these ladies. They're special, very special ladies. All right, here you go. Okay.
And please check out the Mystic Brew. The website no longer works, but you can order through Instagram and Facebook at the Mystic Brew 303. We have intention jars as well as kits to make them yourself and bath salts that have different herbs and aromas that help attract whatever intention you are currently working on, as well as we are offering Zumba classes on Sundays. So check those out for updates on that as well.
Okay. And then we have Angel Renee has an Etsy store, and she has intention candles and tea bag that you put in your bathtub. It has all those aromatic herbs that help you focus on your intention. So along those same lines as what Faith sells in hers. All right. So I always like to acknowledge those that support us or support those that support us. The first one being Reverend Fairy Elaine Silver. Her website is really interesting. She's not able to update it to say how to pay for things. And she travels around the country with CDs in her trunk. So she sings. And so she travels around the United States singing. So you need to look and see what kind of, oh, it was on Beloved. Okay, thank you. I'll do that when I do Karen Drucker. So her website doesn't work. She can't change it so that it says, you know, how to pay for it. So you reach out to her by email, figure out which CD you want on the website, reach out to her by email. And she's really good at giving you a way to pay for it and then sending the CD out right away. So I've never known her to create a lag in any of that. So definitely go on the website. She has some incredible material. So, and the second one is Karen Drucker, who has gifted us with her entire collection of 20 CDs. And you want to change that, Faith? Sorry. And then you can buy on her website. It works. So you can buy it by the song, by the CD. She has songbooks. She has karaoke files of all the songs. Some of the songbooks, some of the songs in the songbook she's provided American Sign Language for. And her website does work, so you can pay for it right then and there. And so definitely go purchase something from these two ladies. I really, like I said, they support us. We couldn't do music if it wasn't for the two of them. So we really appreciate that, because you don't want to just listen to me talk for an hour. That's like a talking head. All right. So also check out our website at www.oasiscsl.org. There you're going to find pictures of picnics and things like that, our ordinations, Lynn and my ordination, things like that, so you can get to know who the spiritual family is in this church, which would be your spiritual family. And also there's video sermons from the last 3 years on there. I know it's out of date. I'm working on it. And there's audio sermons from years prior. You can also find video sermons, the entire service on Sunday on YouTube, and you can find the audio sermons on SoundCloud, and it's under S. Tucker. So check all of that out and definitely get to know us. I think we're pretty special people in our congregation, not just me, but like Faith and Oz and all of our congregation are all really, really special people. So get to know us. All right. So I'm going to move us into our closing song, and we'll be right back. Actually, I don't think we have time to do that. I'm just going to move right into Oz praying us out. How's that? Does that work for you, Oz? I hope so.
I know that right here, right now, God's presence is felt in us, as us, all around us, supporting and uplifting our lives and all of our experiences. The perfect moments happen and the perfect occurrences occur as we allow them to fall and manifest into our lives. I know this is good and very good, and I give thanks that it is so. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you so much, Oz. We appreciate everybody for being here. I know there's 1,000 things you could be doing on a Sunday morning. We're blessed that you were here with us. Next week is Father's Day. Honor to God. I promise you we're doing the Father's Day ceremony next week. Join us at 10:30 a.m. Mountain Time every Sunday, but particularly next weekend. Until then, bye. Love you.